Sinners is a Ryan Coogler film. He writes, directs, produces this film. It is a period piece horror action crime thriller movie about two brothers who go back to their hometown wanting to start a juke joint, but they get attacked by vampires. Very simple plot. Kind of like Public Enemies with a supernatural threat. So I was very excited for this movie. It's one of my most anticipated films of the year. It also has like almost 100% of Rotten Tomatoes, critically and audience score. However, I didn't quite enjoy this movie. The trailer for this movie made it seem like it was going to be an intense, bloody ride full of like extreme violence and gore, and it's going to be maybe racially motivated by the vampires, but this movie is just really messy and bloated, a little bit indulgent and a little bit overly ambitious, which is not a bad thing, but sometimes you do need someone to tell you no for certain things. This movie introduces almost 9 characters, like a heist film at the beginning of the film, so there's a solid 45 minutes to an hour of just setup and backstory and characters talking about their pasts and what they want to do and what they want to build. So it almost feels like a bit of a melodrama because this will be a horror film. They do have a quick 2-minute sequence introducing the main antagonist, the vampire villain. However, they sort of quickly shove away from him to go back to the main characters. We've got Preacher Boy. He's Samuel, plays the guitar. He's the son of a preacher. His cousins are the Smokestack twins. Elijah and Elias are, they went to Chicago and now they're back. They have a bunch of cash, they have a bunch of booze, and they want to open up a juke joint. And then there's each of their ex-girlfriends, and then there's also they hire Otis to be their doorman, Slim to be a piano man, and then there's a Chinese couple that they hire to make a sign and to get sundries for the food, and they plan to open up that night instead of waiting a week. And so much setup. Honestly, this movie's too ambitious and it probably should have just been a television show. A television show would have been way better medium to tell the story, because since you have so many characters, you could have more backstory, delve into them with flashbacks. For example, the first episode would be 45 minutes of setup, and then you have the vampire villain's introduction. Give you a little gore, set up the foreboding. Second episode could be more setup, more backstories, more flashbacks. Maybe Mary shows up and she's got her whole thing with her mother, and then you could have, him, the vampire guy, rounding up that crew of sorts that shows up in the trailer, and then sort of build up to this sort of bloody event in episode probably 3 or 4, and then just make it a 5 or 6 episode thing. But it tries to shove everything into one movie. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it definitely too much setup. And then by the time you introduce the villain, he's sort of just milling about outside, and they got a bunch of other subplots going on, and there is some some carnage. But by then, the movie's almost over. It feels a little bit rushed. And the movie commits one big mortal sin for me. It plays it really loosey-goosey with the vampire rules. Every monster movie has to have rules. If a werewolf movie, zombie movie, vampire movie, you create rules for your own creatures. So in this movie, the vampires are weak to sunlight, silver, garlic, and they have a weakness where they're not allowed to enter a building unless invited in. So that's kind of, but they're way overpowered in this, and it's almost like a virus, because if they bite someone, they join the flock, and it's over. It's one bite, you're done, and they definitely don't stick to that formula throughout the entire film, and it makes it a little bit iffy and plays it weird, and I don't like that. It's not a big deal, but Ryan Coogler, he is the mastermind behind this whole film. He's writing it, directing it, producing it. He gets final say, he gets final cut. So he should have went over that with more of a fine-tooth comb, because you can't just be like, well, they die in sunlight, but maybe they don't sometimes, but this and that, and they definitely don't stick to certain rules, and they make up their own and they break them, which is bad. In terms of performances, everyone does a great job. Delroy Lindo's there. He's got this this past that's really good, some trauma. Smokestack twins are really great, from Michael B. Jordan. Haley Steinfeld's there, and there's a few others. But overall, I just feel like the movie wasn't focused enough. It feels a little bit bloated. It feels really indulgent and just way too much going on. There's 3 large plot lines happening at the same time. There's something that happened in the past, which they're on the run from. There's them trying to open up the juke joint and the vampires attacking, and then they actually follow that up with something else. So by the end of the movie, it feels like a very moot point. There is also a mid-credit scene and an ending credit scene. But overall, I feel like Ryan Coogler's film needed to be a little bit reined in more. When you produce your own film, you know, no one can say no, but then sometimes you find yourself getting a little bit too out of hand with style or whatever. And this movie definitely didn't feel like a horror film. It definitely had blood in it, and there was creepy vampire people with glowing eyes. But Ryan Coogler is his first horror film. He's more of an action director. He's done a crime thriller, Creed, and he's done 2 Marvel films. So horror is not quite his wheelhouse yet, and the movie doesn't feel terrifying or doesn't utilize the camera work to make things more claustrophobic. It almost felt like it was copying From Dusk Till Dawn at times. Overall, Sinners is a really big swing and a miss. I can appreciate the ambition and the vision that he had, but I just felt like too many elements were loosey-goosey all over the place. Some rules were played around with, definitely rushed in some areas and slowed down in some areas, but overall, you know, it's a mixed bag for sure. I give Sinners a 6 out of 10.